Hello everyone. Now I wanted to start out by saying I am no expert on psychology. However, I've had many interactions with people who have anxiety, and I also dated a girl who had social anxiety. Not to an extreme degree, but in comparison to me, we were on completely opposite sides of the spectrum. I can talk for hours with people whose company I enjoy. I have been known to leave a party only to find someone to talk to a few feet away and be there for another hour. This, in comparison to my girlfriend at the time, who had a social stamina bar, is what I like to call it. When she hits her limit, she wants to leave. If we didn't leave, she would start to get overwhelmed. She loved my family and never had any issues with them, but when she hit that point, that was it. I never truly understood this, but I would do all that I could to help. I come from a very large family that has always been pretty close knit. She came from a family that was very large, but most of them lived out of state. I grew up arguing with cousins and fighting with family all the time. It is what taught me how to be so quick witted. She didn't have this. When she got put on the spot, she would usually end up saying something that embarrassed her. She even said some things that I was shocked by. I mean, they were some hilarious moments, but she didn't think so. The reason I wanted to cover anxiety is because I know there are a large number of people that have it to some degree. I have never had these issues, at least as far as I know. Now, as I said in my last video, most people are scared of something, just do not fully understand it. Anxiety is not quite the same as a fear, but it can be worked with if you know your limitations. When she would hit that point, she would come over and just let me know it was time to go. I would immediately start saying goodbyes and we would go home. Now, even though I was giving her what she wanted, she would always feel bad because she felt like she was pulling me away from my family. Which, yes, in a way she was, but she was my girlfriend at the time, so I was willing to do a great many things for her. I still remained social with my family and just knew that when that time came, it was time to go. I don't see anything wrong with this. This is no different than if there was a certain family member that made her uncomfortable. I would try to avoid them when she was around. I would never cut ties with that person because they are family, but I wouldn't put her through that stress. You have to know what things your partner or your friends don't like, especially if said things make them anxious. Now, anxiety is a word that gets thrown around a lot, and some of you may not know exactly what it means. Anxiety's definition is a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. There are many types of anxiety as well. Some people, like her, have social anxiety, and everyone has different levels in that type of anxiety as well. She had a minor case, I would say, but I know about some people who can't even talk to more than one person at a time. In some cases, they feel like they literally can't speak because of their anxiety. There are also people who are claustrophobic, which makes them feel anxious when they are in a small or crowded area. Most phobias cause a level of anxiety. Now, I want this channel to help with these kinds of things. I'm not saying that I can make people who have these phobias just click and not have them anymore. I want to help to reduce the level of fear that people have about these things, though. I don't believe I have ever been around someone when they have had an anxiety attack, but I have heard some stories. Now, for some people in these situations, getting close to them and checking on them only makes things worse. Unfortunately, you have to depend on the person who is having the issue to let you know when there is something going on. If you are around someone who does have a form of anxiety, please be respectful of it. It may be just in their mind, and that thing might not scare you, but you don't know what kind of trauma they may have been through to make them this way. For those of you who have anxiety, I would like to know which kinds you have experienced. I want to go deeper into the more common types of anxieties to try to help each person. Going based on my experience with someone who had social anxiety, the advice I can give to you is know your limit. When you are getting to the point where you are no longer having fun, say your goodbyes. Unfortunately, you might get called a party pooper or asked why you are leaving so soon. I usually found it easier to lie about why we were leaving because not everyone understands, especially not my family. If you are going to be around a lot of people, make sure you have a place to go to get away from the noise. Now, this anecdote might not be from social anxiety, but one day I had gotten very drunk. It was a party, and it was all great and fun until all of a sudden I felt extremely sick. I am not sure why it happened, and I have never experienced this again, but I just walked out into the backyard and sat by myself. I got away from all the noise and the craziness, and I started to feel much better. I would heavily suggest trying this kind of approach. Once again, people might question where you went. You can either say you got a phone call or for some other reason. Sometimes lying is just easier, as I said before. If you want, though, you can always just say you needed to go get some fresh air. Unfortunately, there doesn't necessarily seem to be a way to cure these anxieties. And all the time I was with the girl, she never got used to the way my family was. Working around them might not be what you want to do, but I think she was always thankful for me being so understanding. Changing is something we should all do for our significant others. It is not a bad thing as long as you aren't losing yourself in the process. If you have these limitations, make sure your partner knows about them so that they can try to help you in these situations. As soon as she told me about how she felt in these times, I immediately worked out things we could do so she could tell me when it was time to go. For those of you who don't know anyone who has these kinds of feelings, you probably do, you just don't realize. Now, that is not necessarily a bad thing. Most people are not very open about these kind of things. Some even get anxious for talking about it because it is so out of the norm. Try to be observant of the people around you. If someone starts to shut down in a conversation, try to ask if there is anything you can do to help, or if just giving them some space would help. Some of these anxieties can't be helped, so try not to give them a hard time when it is time to go. Most of the help you can get with social anxiety is going to be self-help. Avoid situations you know make you uncomfortable. Take a breather when you need to. Let the people around you know about your feelings. On the flip side, for people around someone with anxiety, be respectful of their feelings. Don't mess with someone who is very clearly having issues. It may be fun for you, but might be torture to that person. Be understanding as well. If someone is telling you about these things, they like you enough that they don't want you to cause them trouble that could ruin your friendship. That's all I have to say, at least when it comes to social anxiety. If anyone here has a different kind of anxiety or something that causes them anxiety, I would love to look into it and find out information for it. I enjoy learning about things even if I may never have that issue. I would really love to hear about people's fears so I can do videos about those next. Please let me know if you would like more information on the subjects that I have already covered. Subscribe if you would like to hear more about random stuff like this, or if you have any thoughts for videos. That way you can see when I address your thoughts. Please be safe out there, especially at a time like now, and remember, be careful, but not scared.